everybody. Welcome back for another succulent conversation. I am your host, Devi Ward, and I want to thank you for joining me and my guest this evening for our discussion, where we are always exploring, I'm very curious, more ways to awaken, heal, and transform our sexuality so that we can have more love and better sex in our lives. And this evening we're going to be talking about the relationship between sex and business, and I can't wait to hear more about that. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our guest this evening. Her name is Allison Braun. And Allison Braun, she was located in Vancouver. Apparently she's going to be a world traveler coming up here pretty soon. And I knew Allison as the bedroom joyologist, and she is now the business joyologist. And she is a former sex and intimacy coach who has reinvented herself as a business strategist. And she's darn good. She believes that sexual energy and creative energy are one and the same. And after building her own thriving business and coaching women from 10 countries for nearly 7 years, she's learned that when you boost up your bedroom libido, your business libido skyrockets too, and vice versa. So I want to welcome and thank you, Miss Allison Braun, for being here.
Thank you, Davey. I'm so excited. And I'm excited to see you at the Conscious Divas event as well. So if anyone else is listening, I hope to meet you in person there as well.
Oh, right on. That'll be fun. So you're gonna be making an appearance. That'll be lovely.
Yeah.
Awesome. So as I was sharing with our audience, I knew you as the bedroom joyologist, and you were very joyful and very, very adept at supporting people and having more joy in the bedroom. And so what's inspired you to move to the world of business, bringing joy, bringing that same idea of cultivating pleasure to the business realm?
I love this question because when I was working as the bedroom joyologist, I honestly, it was a dream come true. I didn't think that there was anything better that I could have gotten paid for than talking about sex all day.
Amen.
Right? And then it turned out that because finding my purpose was such a big part of my journey. So I tended to attract a lot of women who were kind of in that place of finding their purpose and who were really entrepreneurial spirited. So most of my clients, I would say about 90% of my clients either had a business or were in the process of starting one. And eventually, over the last year in particular, once again, about 90% of my clients would end up spending most of our time together asking me business questions. And that ended up being something that we were having even more fun with. And when they were finding that passion come back, it was kind of like this ripple effect. So I was having so much fun doing that, and it was just kind of this thing that happened naturally, and it turned out that it was even more fun for me. And so I always follow the path of least resistance and the most joy, the most pleasure, and that's what people were wanting. So that's what I'm given.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like it was really organic. It wasn't even an intellectual process. It was just that's just what was showing up in your life, and it's something that you have a knack for. Yeah, would you say?
Yeah, it's been basically the last 7 years. That's all I've been learning about, other than good old sex. But it's definitely been a passion of mine, where I've spent a lot of my energy really focusing on learning and growing from. So yeah, it's a love of mine, absolutely.
So then how do you think our sex relates to business? What have you observed about that?
Well, kind of tying in the sexual energy piece. So when I say sex, I'm referring not necessarily to two people having sexual intercourse, but I'm talking more about sexual energy. So just to kind of put that aside.
No, that's very important because most people, when we say sex, I'm thinking, okay, so go to the room and humpity dump dump dump. But you just you mean the actual sexual energy.
Yes, and I believe that personal pleasure and sex are a big part of that, but sexual energy is something that I've utilized a lot over the last several years, and I believe that it's such a huge part to how I've gotten to where I am now. And in particular, the last 2 years, and even when working with you, Davey, I kind of took it to the next level, utilizing that sexual energy, and I just have found that it's amplified everything so much. And I am not a hustler. I do not like to work very hard. I like to be in the path, as I mentioned, of least resistance, the most flow, whatever is going to be the most enjoyable and feel really natural and organic and authentic. And I found by tuning into my body, and my clients have been finding the same thing, by tuning into our own like inner guidance system as well as that sexual energy, that there's this mix of intuition that comes into play, but also we start magnetizing, what it is that we really desire towards us. So that's why I like talking about business libido so much.
Yeah, so that's beautifully put, because I find that in my own life, like there's a lot of talk about sex relating to money, and I haven't necessarily found that like more sex equals more money. It's more, the more attuned I am to my sexuality, the more attuned I am to my body, the more I can listen to that inner wisdom guidance without any resistance, and that guides me to the most auspicious and the most beautiful and the most uplifting experiences. And then also you talked about magnetizing. Magnetizing is that fire energy, that sexual energy. And if we have the volcano of our sexual energy, awakened and enlivened, then absolutely we're gonna draw more support, whatever we need to support ourselves in our lives. So libido. So most of us, I think there's most of us have an idea of what libido is, but I don't necessarily know that we all are on the same page when we're talking about it. So what is your definition of libido? What does that mean for you?
My definition of libido is the zest, the passion, and the drive that compels you to take action and get what you want. So there's actually a dictionary definition that says that libido is the energy derived from primitive urges expressed in conscious activity. And I just love that definition and wanted to take it a little bit deeper. So we can see how that definitely applies to our sex lives. And I don't know, can you see how that powerful energy and definition can apply to running a business?
Oh my God. Well, yeah, absolutely. Like energy, passion, and drive. If you don't have that, you're going to be dead in the water.
Exactly. So I just love it.
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, it's just that I've been in that place where you just kind of want to stay in bed and you're like, oh, what am I doing? And there isn't that drive there. And it's the same in the bedroom. Like when you don't have that drive to connect with a partner and it kind of feels dry and boring, whether you're in the bedroom or in your business, it's horrible to not feel that zest and that passion and that drive. So I'm so passionate about lighting that fire in business now, in addition to in the bedroom, in my bedroom at least.
So if somebody is in the place that you just described, like in their bedroom or in their business, what do they do if they're just like, bleh? That's just not there. Like, how do you support somebody and guide them to finding that spark again?
Well, I just want to make a really interesting connection that just came to mind that definitely was applying to me, and I've noticed it in a lot of men in particular, but also a lot of women. So when just connecting actual sex and business a little bit here is what I've seen a lot happening is when there isn't that sexual spark and it's coming from within, that kind of lackluster energy. A lot of the times it is due to a lack of purpose or drive in business and what is propelling you forward in career or sharing your gifts with the world. So if you're experiencing that, it often has to do with a disconnect with your purpose and how you're expressing that in the world. So one of the first ways that I find really kind of lights that up again and boosts your libido is to really connect to what you're passionate about, not necessarily just in the bedroom, but in life. Start taking initiative to do things that really pique curiosity or get your creative juices flowing, or that you can get really passionate about, whether it's, going to an improv club or having a debate with a friend on an intense topic or painting, just something that's going to like liven you up a little bit. And in a lot of my former work with women, a lot of women were like, I don't even know what I like. And I can relate to that in the past as well. And so sometimes it's just a matter of trying new things.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like if you're in that slump, so to speak, just finding things that you enjoy. And if you don't even know what you enjoy, just like actually taking action, like getting the energy moving.
Yeah. Trying new things, having some fun, getting out of your comfort zone even.
Mm-hmm. So that's obviously one a good libido boosting tips. Do you have any other suggestions for helping people get that energy moving in their business, in their creative life?
Mm-hmm. I've got plenty of them, but I'll share one or two more.
Awesome.
One of them is actually using something that both you and Jacques shared with me, which is the fire element meditation. And I've kind of just adapted it to make it connect even more to business and using it connected to that. So maybe you want to share a little bit more than that. You can probably describe it better than I can even. But doing this specific meditation and setting my intention that it's going to cultivate my creative energy so that I feel really inspired and I connect to my mission has really allowed me to just propel forward in business and feel a lot more excited and motivated around it, especially when I am lacking clarity or not too sure which direction to go.
That's so cool, because what Allison is describing is one of the elemental meditations that we teach in our authentic tantra programs, and it's the fire element meditation. And so fire element it governs the sexual system. So it's all about sexual energy, and it's all about getting that energy balanced and harmonized and healed, but also activated. And the beautiful thing about fire is when that elemental energy is balanced and it's functioning at its optimal ability, we magnetize. We draw, we attract those things to us in life that we need to support our growth. But the other aspect of the fire element is that it cultivates discernment. So that's what you were describing just there, like having the clarity. So if we're confused about which way to go, I could totally see how doing this meditative practice would be very beneficial for people to help get that clarity and that discernment about where to go from here. Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Yeah, so I really love that. And at the end of that meditation, or towards the end, what I do is I actually envision all the people, because you're sending like these red rays of light into the world. And so what I actually do is I envision the people that most need to receive what I have to offer kind of like popping up around the globe. And I'm sending that energy to them, which just really magnifies the intensity to which I feel that drive to share my message.
Awesome. That's so awesome. So you like send out kind of these light ray feelers out to the universe to touch those people who are going to most benefit from your offering.
Yes. And so that works really, really well. My clients absolutely love playing around with that meditation. It's probably not as authentic as you teach it, but it has had great benefit just from taking the basic aspects of it.
Well, that is all that counts. As long as it's benefiting and healing and transforming people's lives, that's the purpose.
Yes.
What is your other favorite one?
My other favorite one is having a supportive kind of success circle. So in business, and in love as well, but in business especially, if you're going at it alone, for those solopreneurs out there, it can be really, really challenging to get stuck up in our heads, our egos, get going, and as well as just the day-to-day logistics of having to manage everything. It can be really overwhelming, and if you're overwhelmed, your libido is probably going to be a little down in the dumps, a little droopy. So having a support system, which can look a variety of different ways, I've found to be extremely beneficial. It's literally transformed my experience, not only in my business, but my whole life. And a few key elements that I really like to look for in a support system, whether it's one person or multiple people, is just really ensuring that there's no judgment. that there's support to what your highest vision is, like really having people hold you to your highest and holding you accountable to that. Having similar goals is really helpful. And one thing that I really strive for, and I really, really make sure with my clients as well, is ensuring that you're working with people who get who you are and what your vision is, and that there's an alignment there, that there's like a genuine connection, whether it's for a virtual assistant or a graphic designer, a coach, any person that you're working with or a friend. Having that one piece in particular makes all the difference in the world, because there's nothing like getting feedback or advice or support from someone who doesn't really care about what you're doing. It's just not fun. So having that support circle can really take your business from staying stuck for periods of days, weeks, months, or even years, to really getting out of it very quickly within sometimes hours or days for the more like serious things. So it can allow you to propel forward very, very quickly.
So having a network of tribe, it sounds like, of family, sort of, but a business family who you get inspired by and you get juiced by and jazzed by and can help you move through your blocks.
Yes, yeah. Mine's called a sexified success circle. It can be known as a mastermind. It can be your team of like graphic designers and virtual assistants, and it can also be like best friends in business who kind of get the entrepreneurial world. And your family and like your actual family and loved ones can be support system as well, but it's a lot different when people actually understand what you're doing and have experienced similar things.
Right, like minds. Right.
Yeah.
So so you're all on the same page and you're all on the same wavelength, and then you can creatively move from there.
Yes.
Yeah. So speaking of blocks, though, speaking of getting stuck, so what do you find most often keeps people feeling stuck, burnt out, and uninspired?
There's three. Well, there's actually more than three, but we'll talk about three for right now. The first one is doing work and working with people that you don't love. This is it's the second most common thing that people will say. They may or may not be aware of it, but doing work that you don't love and working with people that you don't love will suck your energy so quickly and leave you feeling usually pretty burnt out in not too long. So that's definitely one of the top ones.
So wait, I'm going to stop you right there. So love, this emotional, spiritual, whatever, psychic energy of love is incredibly important in your business.
Yes. There's a lot of people out there that they're driven by money. They love money. I love money. But for the people that I work with and connect with the most, they're usually purpose driven. And so they've got a bigger mission on this planet, just like you do. And so although money is awesome and super, super important and a big part of what I do, without that purpose there first and loving what you're doing and who you're doing it with, it just doesn't flow.
So there's so that's very key what you said right there. So there's a difference between being money driven and purpose driven. So purpose driven is like that's your heart and your passion and your drive, all those things you were talking about. Like that's purpose, as opposed to it's like if you're just money driven, then you can just you can fuck through it. You can fuck through anything.
And some people can do that. I can't. I absolutely love money, and I always have. I'm not ashamed of it. I think it's amazing. So I have no problem weaving in purpose and money together, but I have a really hard time making money doing something that I don't feel really passionate and purposeful around. Yeah.
Amen. I totally hear that. I love money. Money come to me. And wonderful. It's fun tickets. I had someone describe it because I used to be like, money grumble. He's like, no, they're fun tickets.
Yeah.
They're your pass to buy fun stuff. It's great. Have as much as you need.
Absolutely.
But yeah, doing work just for the purpose of those fun tickets without passion, without purpose is deadening, I find.
Yeah, there's a lot of us out there that just cannot do it. So just checking in, like, especially if you do have your own business and you have a little bit of control there, just checking in if you are finding your energy levels kind of coming down a little bit. See if you're saying yes to things that you're actually not that passionate about, or maybe you were when you said yes, but it's not lighting you up anymore, which can happen. As well as taking on clients that aren't 110 perfect match for you. Your clients take on a lot of your time and your energy, your head space, your heart space. So if they're not people that are totally appreciative of who you are and what you're doing with them and aren't a blast to work with, your energy levels are going to drop pretty quickly. So just check in on both of those things and see what you can kind of move around, shift, or let go of in order to leave space open for the great, the things that are, that perfect match for you.
Right. So not settling for anything less than a perfect 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for a 12.
Go for a 12. She's like, go past the 10. Go for the 12. 110%. So something came up for me though. So how do you bow out gracefully? So what if you do say yes to something that lit you up but it's like 3 months later and when it comes time to do it, you're like, not really. How do you do that and like also be in integrity with your word?
Absolutely. Great question. I'm going to frame it in two different ways. One, if it's a client, and one, if it's something else. So clients is often the most touchy one because that's like the last thing we want, especially because there's usually a contractual agreement there.
Right.
And so to make it easy on yourself in your agreement right off the bat, it'll help a lot if you actually say that if anything changes, you, just like they do, have permission to release them as a client if it, fails of being anything less than an absolute joy to work together.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you first want to explore that and see, check in first and foremost with yourself and also with them. So I'll give an example from my early years in business when I was really excited when someone was like, yes, I'll work with you. And I was like, yes, I can help you. But it wasn't that 110 perfect match. I could help her and I could, she could benefit from me, but it wasn't. There was someone else better for her. So a little while into our agreement, I just felt in my heart, I'm like, this is not going to, not going to jive. It's not the perfect fit. So what I did is, and this is another thing to really remember, is usually the other person's feeling the same way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You might not know it, but often they are. So by checking in and just saying like, hey, so-and-so, like we've been working together for this amount of time and I've really loved this, and this. So giving that, just like in sex, you're giving that positive acknowledgement. And then just expressing and checking in like, this is what I'm feeling right now, and I just wanted to see if you were feeling anything similar, and this is what I would like things to look like going forward.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then you can make a new agreement. So it's not like you're just letting go of an agreement, but you're making a new one. And that new one could look like, okay, we're moving on, and I'm going to refer you to someone who I do feel is the perfect match. Or we can shift our agreement so that it feels more in alignment. Maybe we cut back our sessions or something like that.
Right. So renegotiating your original agreement.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So, but it sounds like it's really important to have that clause in there in your initial agreement. Like, if anything, if it doesn't seem to be working, or if anything changes, that you both have permission to have a conversation about renegotiating.
Yeah.
So that's clear really right helps. Up front.
Yeah.
Okay. Right on. Cool.
And even if you, like, say this is, like, really alive in you right now and you're like, I don't have that in my agreement and I really don't want to work with this person anymore, still present that to them. Mm-hmm. And what I just explained is with someone that you actually like and care for and want to keep a good relationship. If you're working with someone that is absolutely horrible, just send a simple thing or have a simple conversation where you just end it. You don't even say sorry, like our time together is done. Thank you so much. this is what moving forward looks like. So if there's a payment thing that you need to sort out, you sort it out and that's done. Give them a refund, cancel the next payments, whatever you need to do.
Right. So just cut those ties. If it's really awful and it's really sucking you dry, just cut the tie and wash your hands of it.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. Yes, you made an agreement at the beginning, but things change. And as long as you're staying in integrity with what's best for you, it will be what's best for the other person too. So
Awesome. So then what about other things? So that's clients. So what if it's like personal commitments? Because we have, especially as women, we have a tendency to say yes to too much.
Yes. So this is actually number 2. We'll go into this because it kind of we'll weave them together. So the libido killer, number 2, is overcommitting. So saying yes to too many things that just are not, they might even seem like a good fit at the beginning, but then all of a sudden you've said yes to too many things, and then all of a sudden they're all falling at the same time. You've got too much to do, and you can't be fully present with any of them, even the ones that are great opportunities.
Yes.
So when this happens, so say Devi asked me to do this interview, and I'm like, yes, I'm totally gung-ho about this. Woohoo! Let's schedule it in. And then all of a sudden, I change my business, and it's not in alignment anymore, and I'm moving across the country, and I just know that I could do it, but it wouldn't really be serving either of us because I'd be distracted, overwhelmed, and also it wouldn't really have any benefit because what I'm focusing on is no longer what I said it would be.
Right. Yep.
So let's say that's the situation.
Luckily it wasn't, but let's pretend.
Yeah, totally. We make things work when it really works. So before this situation even happens, to avoid it, you want to first, even if it seems like an amazing opportunity, I'm an opportunist, so I have to really watch this myself. Check in with your body first and just put yourself in the scenario as if you were to say yes. So feel what it would feel like if you were 100% yes, you were in, you were committed. What it would feel like in your body if you were to say no and just let go of that opportunity completely. And also feel into what it would feel like if you were to say no, not now. Mm-hmm. That's a really, really great one because often it's like that fear of missing out that moves us to being a yes when it's not like the perfect time.
Right.
So just being a no right now and, let's explore this later. Mm-hmm. And that can avoid this situation in the first place a lot of the time. But, let's say we're in it. And so I'm in this situation where I just explained. What I could do is just, call up Devi or email Devi and say, listen, here's my current situation. And it's kind of like exploring our needs.
Exactly.
Using Judith Laysater's Duck Index. So, I'd say, okay, this is my situation. I really want to honor our commitment, but I'm wondering if this is no longer in perfect alignment. How would you feel if I were to blank? So giving one option, which might be to cancel this completely and maybe make a suggestion to someone who could fill that spot. That's a really good way of just closing that gap. Mm-hmm. 2 might be rearranging what the commitment looks like. So once again, renegotiating. And then checking in and say, hey, Devi, what would feel best to you out of these options? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So it's not like saying, sorry, I don't know what to do. And it's not freaking out and just leaving everything up in the air. It's just leaving some options and then putting it in their hands while still being kind of in control with your situation.
So it sounds like it totally makes sense. So it sounds like really being deeply connected to your needs, like you said, and your boundaries and your needs for self-care and your needs for what's going to be most supportive for you. And when we encounter situations in our life that actually aren't supportive or regenerative, I want to say regenerative is what it feels like. Being able to clearly communicate that, but also not just say, no, I'm not doing this, but also sharing what's going on for us and being open to the possibility of creating something different.
Yeah, something even better. I love that you said that, because I don't know about you. Maybe you can relate, but I'm so drawn now to vulnerability and rawness. And I'm not talking about like sobbing and saying, "Oh, Davey, everything's going wrong and I can't do this interview." But more so like, okay, like this is what's going on and this is what I'm feeling. And let's explore how we could make this like a really new and exciting opportunity.
Yes, awesome. I love that. I love that. So it's really about like nourishing ourselves and staying deeply connected to our feelings, staying deeply connected to our body, and trusting that guidance and that wisdom, because I think that's the thing that kind of gets in the way is our bodies are maybe giving us these messages, but our minds are telling us, to do something else, or I know for me sometimes in the past when I would overcommit, it was because I was afraid of what other people might think if I said no.
Yes, we get into the should do's and the need to's, which are just deadly when it comes to libido in general.
Yeah, drive. Yeah, Marshall Rosenberg says, "Don't should on yourself."
Yes, that's my motto. I definitely agree with that.
I love that. I love that.
The last one is stressing out about money.
Well, but it's hard to do, especially when you're an entrepreneur. We're like living hand to mouth here, trying to get our stuff up off the ground.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to stay that way. It doesn't have to stay that way. Money can be sexy, it can be managed, it can be consistent, and it can be exciting. Mm-hmm. So nothing kills libido more than stressing out about money, whether it's in a relationship or in business.
Amen, sister.
So just like you said, though, when we're getting started, there can be a lot of investments to make, and, we're getting started. So it's not like there's this, a lot of the times anyways, an influx of clients right off the bat. And so one of my favorite ways to kind of overcome financial stress is by creating some consistency. And so a lot of the times it depends on what kind of business you have, but thinking of more so of like consultants and coaches and therapists, people who have services that they're providing, a lot of the time they're working in a dollars per hour model. And so they're selling single sessions, and it's hard to charge a really high price if you're just selling an hour of your time. People never value your time as much as you do. So what I found to work really, really well right off the bat, I implemented this right at the very beginning of my work as the bedroom joyologist. And it allowed me to really release my stress levels and that need to like always have more clients right off the bat. So I'd love to share it with you.
Please do. We're all ears.
Yeah. And so instead of starting off with like a 4-session package or, a typical therapist model of like an hour of time is this much, what I did was I created a results-focused package. And for each person, you really want to tailor this to your lifestyle that you're trying to create for yourself. What I was trying to create for myself may not be what you are, so tune into that first and foremost. But for myself, I really love consistency, especially financially, so that I can feel and enjoy the freedom around that. So for me, what I did is I created a 6-month package. For me, it would feel really good to have a consistency in my schedule and my finances if I was working with a select few clients that I knew I was going to be talking to every 2 weeks for 6 months. And the package price is this amount. And I knew that if I filled my couple client spots, that I wouldn't have to worry about getting more clients for another 6 months. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them would even renew to work longer than that. So it was easy peasy. So what a lot of people do off the bat is like, especially with online business, it's like, I'm going to create a $249 product or ebook before they have a community. So they've got like 5 people that are paying attention to what they're doing and trying to make a $7,000 a month income selling $20 ebooks. Like it's going to take a long time to get there.
Yeah, geez, seriously.
But if you were to have a, $3,000 to $5,000 package, that's a lot that has a very valuable end result that people are very hungry to achieve. that's much easier for a lot of people to invest in. Mm-hmm. And it's going to provide that consistency for you so that you're not stressing out, and you can provide them with more value so that they can get where they want to go. And I know from my own personal experience that the more I invest, the more committed I am, the more responsibility I take, and the better results I get. So even just in the action of someone investing in you at a higher rate allows them to start receiving benefits right away, because they're kind of investing in themselves in a sense of like their self-worth almost, especially when it comes to different things around personal growth.
Absolutely. It's a commitment. So you're saying design longer programs with higher price tags and work with less people for more money, basically. Basically,
and it doesn't necessarily have to be longer. I create also kind of like intensive days, and I think you might do that too as well, Davey. And it allows you to make what you might make working with that same client for 3 months in one day. Mm-hmm, and they get like intensified results much faster. So you can design it basically however you'd like, but the key thing is to be charging based on results, not your time.
Right.
At much higher prices.
That's key. So everybody out there, all you entrepreneurs, it's about charging based on results and not your dollar per hour worth. So that is a very good key point to keep in your back pocket there, or your front pocket.
So we are easiest to whip out.
wherever it's easiest to whip out, to find it. Don't forget about it. So we're getting close to our time here being over. So what are some, if I'm kind of like unsure if my business libido has been drained, what are some symptoms that I might be looking for? What are some things that are going to show up for me?
Yeah. One of the first symptoms is feeling overwhelmed. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, like you're doing too much, another symptom is not knowing what actions to take at what time, what investments to make and when, what ideas to take action on and follow through on. So just that kind of lack of clarity.
Lack of clarity, yeah.
That's a biggie. Working too hard for too little. Feeling drained by the time that you're spending with your clients or in whatever work that you're doing. Not feeling excited to get out of bed in the morning for what you have planned.
So wanting to sleep all day, especially in this rainy Pacific Northwest weather. Boy, it takes a lot to want to get out of bed in November, December.
Yeah, you have to have an extra juicy business on the West Coast.
Amen, seriously, and some good coffee.
And then other than that, feeling financially drained. So if you are constantly stressed out about money, that's a pretty good indicator that your business libido is down. And feeling too drained to have sex. That's another big one. If you are too drained or too busy to enjoy time with your loved ones, not a good situation. Most of us start businesses so that we can have the freedom that we desire to spend time with our loved ones and, enjoy our hobbies and do other fun stuff. So if you don't have the time or the energy to do that, chances are your business libido is looking a little low.
Yeah, absolutely. I would absolutely say that there's been such a transformation for me in that realm as well, and making sure that every moment that I spend doing my business is full of pleasure and enjoyment. And if it's not, then doing that thing which will meet my need for pleasure. So it's very, very important. Pleasure in business, it's huge.
Yes.
It's huge. We're taught in the West that we got to put our nose to the grindstone and just, like I said, fuck through it. And Allison is sitting here telling us, and I'm telling you, we're both telling you, pleasure in business. Pleasure is medicine, right?
Yeah, well, if you're working 4 to 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, like that's as much time as you're sleeping. And if all you're doing is sleeping and working, you better be enjoying at least your time working.
Amen, sister. There's got to be pleasure. And remember, if you'll remember from Dr. Lori Steelsmith a couple weeks ago, she verified pleasure literally is medicine for the body. It's regenerative. So we want to make sure that whatever we're doing is at least meeting some small need for pleasure.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So what are some of the successes that you've seen? Or at least one juicy success that you want to share with us?
For sure. I'm going to share more generally. So as I mentioned, I don't work with a lot of people at the same time. I devote a lot of my time and energy to my clients. And a lot of the people that I work with are creating new businesses or completely redesigning them. So we're kind of like starting from the ground up. Mm-hmm. And so what's most exciting for me and the successes that I notice the most are when my clients do go from that dollars per hour model or not having any clients to getting their first like $3,000 to $5,000 client in one chunk within like a month or two is really, really fun. So the majority of my clients that are starting from scratch, they do get those first clients that are paying them the, bigger amounts in the first month to 2 months. So they're getting their first high-paying clients. Some of my clients have been featured on the cover of magazines with the Dalai Lama, which is pretty exciting. So she, this woman in particular, works with sex and intimacy for busy moms. And so she was hopping on the sexual energy train. And so she just really put out her desires for visibility. And so we worked with that, and she's gotten speaking gigs and all kinds of fun stuff, whereas before she was not. So that's been really fun.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like it's really important to have that clarity and have someone support you in aligning with your vision.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that is what you do. So, Allison, for those hungry people out there who want to know more about how the practical, the steps, how you go from A to Z to being on the cover with the Dalai Lama, how do they get a hold of you?
The best way is to just visit my online home base, which is AllisonBraun.com. Allison with 2 L's, so ALLISON. And Braun, like the razors, BRAUN.com. And as long as you enter your name and email kind of on that home page there, you'll get a free gift from me, which covers the 3 big mistakes that most entrepreneurs make that keep them stuck and missing out on money. So those are 3 things that I actually didn't talk about today. Mm-hmm. And that will also keep you in the loop for upcoming opportunities to work with me privately when they come along, as well as other fun and exciting things that are happening in my world and other fun people's worlds that will help take your business to the next level.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Allison. Do you have anything else you want to share with our listeners in the last little 2 minutes of our show?
Oh, there's so many things, but for right now, I just want to say thank you, and I look forward to connecting. If you did tune in, be sure to shoot me a little message on the contact page from my site. I'd love to hear from you, what you're up to in your business. Say hello.
Mm-hmm. Yes, awesome. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in and joining us this evening. And I'm going to invite you to continue tuning in. Every week we have super spectacular guests. And next week we're going to be talking about sacred sexuality with Dr. Janelle Alex. And they're going to be talking to us about sexy challenges. And I'm excited to learn more about sexy challenges. So we hope you got a lot out of this evening. And tune in next week. Thanks so much.